Hello everybody, we are back. We are live on YouTube for the Championship preview show. Thank you to everybody already who joined us for the first YouTube premiere video that we've tried on the channel. That was at 5 o'clock, so you can check that out in the feed. Look out for that. Top 10 most shocking moments in the Championship this season. Make yourself known if you're in the feed, and we will get started. Evening George, evening John, West Brom and Villa, both represented in the feed already. So strap yourself in now, because it is 5 games between now and April the 22nd. Evening to everybody in the feed. 7 games to go for everybody except Bristol City and Millwall. Someone's just asked about Fulham. Fulham and Huddersfield both confirmed back in the Championship next season. Everyone's favourite away day, Fulham, that, isn't it? Let's start at the top and get your predictions in with the game that I'm chatting about, and then we'll do some more general questions at the end. Hi everybody in the feed. Great to see so many people supporting the channel and the stream. At the top, again, we say it every week, Norwich versus QPR. So predictions in down the side. Norwich v QPR should be a fairly easy one to call, this one. Canaries, top of the pile, early kickoff. So if they win, they will be 10 points clear of Sheffield United in 3rd place. Norwich 7 wins on the trot, 9 wins out of 10, unchanged team in all 7 of those games. Everyone going for Norwich in the feed so far. It's really, really simple too. Everybody is fit, so we're pretty certain that the lineup will be completely unchanged. McLean will keep Leitner out. Godfrey will keep Closer out. Perhaps we might see that 11 change as we go through the 3-game week. Also, Norwich will consider it a reward for their good form, but they're on Sky twice, which means they've got longer gaps than everybody as well. They play before everybody on Saturday, then they play after everybody on the following Sunday at Wigan, and they play the Wednesday night. So it's panned out nicely for Norwich with the fixtures. Chris says I might put them on my coupon, so QPR draw. Unlikely, I think. QPR do not even have a manager. Steve McLaren fired, was it Monday or Tuesday? Earlier in the week, I think it was Monday, wasn't it? So John Eustace will have been doing training all week. Since they were in playoff contention on Boxing Day, after I saw them beat Ipswich 3-0, their record goes like this: played 15, won 1, drawn 4, lost 10, including a 7-game losing streak. If there's any Norwich fans in the feed there, answer Matt's question about Kenny McLean there. I wasn't convinced by McLean when I saw him against Swansea. Thought he'd be out the team for Leitner fairly quickly, but stayed in there and obviously performing well to be staying in the league leaders team. John says 3 more wins would do it for Norwich. I think we agree with that. Rangers will take solace in the fact that that 1 win was against Leeds, so they have beaten a good team. Their only win, but truly they are in awful form. Rangers. They're going to have to rely heavily on Luke Freeman's set plays with that left foot, and hope that Tim Krul has a bad day defending the set plays, but come on, it's not going to happen, is it? So look, let's predict what everybody has predict. QPR are not going to be able to live with Norwich in open play. Would Freeman get into the Norwich team? Freeman will get into most teams, but judging Norwich players is weird, because it's so much about the setup and the training and the repetition and the practice that you don't know. But Freeman, really quality player, and certainly one of the best left feet in the Championship. Whether he's mobile enough to play for a top 6 team, he should be, but hey ho. So look, I'm going to go for a Norwich home win in this one. Right, it gets interesting Birmingham versus Leeds. And as Chris Brunt has the best left foot, I did see evidence of Chris Brunt's excellent left foot. A bit more power than Freeman. Freeman a bit more floaty, isn't he? But yeah, agree with both of them. Birmingham versus Leeds. As it stands, I will be at this game because, well, we talk about Bolton Wanderers and their ridiculous goings on there. So Leeds back into second place after that comeback win over Millwall last week. Twice behind were Leeds. It's the start of a tricky week for both Leeds and Sheffield United, and the way it's worked out, really strange. They both go to Birmingham and they both go to Preston. Really, really similar fixtures. Predictions in down the side. Couple for Birmingham indeed there, and one for Leeds. Leeds squad looking better just when you thought it was going to fix itself. Douglas now out for the season, so Alioski will definitely finish the season at left back. Casilla back from suspension as well. 2-0 Leeds, 2-0 Leeds, and a 1-1 draw. Fairly mixed here. We're finding it hard to call in the feed. The interesting one is Kemar Roof, who is now back and fit, according to Mr. Bielsa. And it looked like the plan was Roof behind Bamford, but the Bielsa quotes I read preparing for this video say he's got a decision between Roof and Bamford. So it looks like Roberts keeps his place in midfield for Leeds. Good question that, Matt. We'll come back to that. Che Adams or Kemar Roof? Really good question. I think you're going to see Roof on the bench and he's going to be coming in. Scribe says Roof to start over Bamford. Interesting. A draw, a Leeds win. Yeah, I'd expect Roof to come off the bench. Matt says he thinks Adams better than Roof. Be interesting if they swapped clubs, what their output would be. You'd fancy Adams would enjoy all those chances that Leeds create, given how many he's scored for Birmingham this season. I was at Blues West Brom this past Friday, and I thought they were good actually. Really good first half. Just went under in the second half, conceded 3 goals in the second half. I think we know what to expect out of Monk. I'm always interested to see Hotter on the bench. I know Mahoney got 2 assists in the last game, but if I had Hotter and I was paying him the money they were paying him, he'd be in my team. But Blues fans will know better than me whether I'm right about that. 5 defeats on the trot for Blues and Sheffield United to play after this one. I think they're not quite going to get pulled into it, but a Rotherham win and a Blues defeat, and they are 2 points off it. It looks like the last 4 games, Blues will pick up a fair amount of points. They've got bottom 5 teams then, but the pressure changes with every defeat. Crikey, prediction on this one. I think Blues can score. Really depends which Leeds turns up, doesn't it? Crikey. I don't know. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence with this one. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds swept them apart. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw. And I wouldn't be surprised if Birmingham beat up on the Leeds centre-halves and played direct. Anything could happen. It's the Championship, but always happy to be proved wrong. There we go. Right, Preston versus Sheffield United. Sheffield United in 3rd, and the Blades started the run-in in the worst possible way. 10-game unbeaten run over, 7-game clean sheet sweep gone, and back into 3rd position, chasing Leeds 2 points off 2nd. Some people say it's good to get these runs out of the way as it grows. Other people say that's nonsense. Winning lots of games and keeping lots of clean sheets is good. Predictions in for Preston, Sheffield United down the side. If you can, help me out because these are difficult ones to call. Gary Medine suspended for 1 more game. Hogan and Sharp scored in the last game. Hogan didn't start. McGoldrick started. So it'd be interesting to see which one he does. Oh, Paul says 5,500 Blades. Incredible. Some brilliant away followings we're seeing towards the end of the season, especially these teams who are at the top challenging. Blades 3, Preston 1, Neil 1. Lot of love for Blades in this. And Blades shouldn't be afraid in any possible way because they drew at Norwich. They won at West Brom and they won at Leeds. So they've beaten two of the teams around them in away games. Preston had a really bad week last week. Not only did they lose at Reading, but literally everybody around them won who they didn't want to win. Forest won, Derby won, Villa won, and Bristol City, for goodness sake, God damn it, won twice. So North End dropped down to 10th, still only 3 points off the playoffs. However, we've mentioned this incestuous week between Leeds, Sheffield United, Blues and Preston, all playing each other a couple of times. So it's not going to be easy to plough through that traffic. 1 defeat in 14 at home in the league for Preston. Robertson back in the starting 11. Rest is pretty settled. Bodes well. Oh, I'm going to go for the Blades. That would make it interesting. If Leeds drew and Blades won, they'd be level on 77 points and the goal difference would come in as well. And as neutral, that would be quite good fun, wouldn't it? Obviously, if Leeds win and Blades lose, then you're up to a 5-point gap. 1889 Blades says they always respond well after drop points. Caleb says 77 points tie, so he can see what I'm saying happening. Jack says he can see Preston dropping off after these fixtures. Certainly a timely, difficult run. Yeah, I'm going to go for Blades. Right, Millwall versus West Brom, where we have one above the bottom playing one below the top, as in the top two and the bottom three. Didn't explain that very well. I knew what I meant. West Brom are not going to hire a new boss now. It transpires. James Shan is going to keep charged there. 3-1 Albion, says George. 3-1 Albion says a big fat brown pig. That's his name, not my description of him. Get your predictions in down the side for Millwall versus West Brom. Huge amounts of quality in that West Brom 11. Still looks a bit unbalanced and a bit unrehearsed, this 4-3-3. You know, you have Dwight Gale off to the side, Jay Rodriguez dropping back. Midfield looks a little bit kind of thrown together. Just loads of experience and loads of quality in there. A couple of shouts for Millwall there in the predictions. Millwall twice had the lead up at Leeds. The Ben Thompson thing's working. Harris gone from 2 up top to a number 10, and he's getting some goals there, and he scored again since he's come back from the loan. Where was he? Portsmouth. Otherwise, we know what Millwall are going to do, and sadly, it's just not working anywhere near as well as it did last season. Since their nice 3-game win streak over the New Year period, 2 wins from 12. John says Millwall good at home, though. They have that game in hand, which might come in handy until you realise it's the last midweek of the season. They'll be there on their own, and they're playing Bristol City, who throw some sand up and see which way the wind blows. Bristol City can do anything, can't they? So it might be hard work. I think West Brom are going to win again. I think James Shan's going to win his 4th game. And we've got to look at this now. I know everyone says that top 3 are way better than everybody else, but if Leeds and Sheffield United trip each other up in this race and West Brom keep winning, you could have a 3-way shootout for 2nd place with Norwich claiming the title easily. So Sanjo says 0-0 draw. I'm going to go for West Brom. Predictable, I know, but there we go. Right, Bristol City versus Wigan. We love the confusing Lee Johnson on the channel, and Bristol City go from stinking out the division to winning 2 games. Wilf says never know which City team will turn up. He's gone for a 2-0. Paul has also gone for a 2-0. Brilliant few days for Bristol City. They go away to 2nd place and 5th place and beat both of them. Unbelievable. Those 2 wins put City at the front of the queue. Matt says Lee Johnson winning streak. Looks like it's happening. And then you got Wigan at home, who, as Paul said in the feed, are terrible away. Scribe says Wigan have only won once away. I do have a stat for you when I get to it on my bullet points. So they're front of the queue now, but 6 teams within 5 points and no margin for error. John the Villa fan wants Wigan to win, but it's not going to happen. City now on a run, not stopping, says John. Very interesting stuff. Wigan have pulled out 4 points from the last two, but as you all know, they're rubbish away. Those 4 points from 2 games is great wherever you are in the table. You do that all season and you get 92 points. So, go figure. But they did it at home against Bolton and beach dwellers Brentford at the moment. Scribe points out Bristol do have that game in hand. Wigan's away form, 15 defeats and 3 draws in the last 18 in all competitions. When is John? Tell me, when is Villa versus Bristol City? Is that over Easter? Let me know in the feed. That's a hell of a game, that one, wasn't it? So look, I've got to go for Bristol City on this one. We're going to pants at home. Lee Johnson's on a winning streak. We don't know when it's going to end, but you'd think Bristol City will be in 5th spot when we come away. Patrick, is that he says the 13th? Is that the Villa game? We'll look out for that one. So that would be Saturday next week, won't it? Right, Wednesday versus Villa. This is an interesting one, isn't it? Get your predictions. Thanks, Patrick. Get your predictions in down the side. Wednesday versus Villa. You've got Steve Bruce going up against his old team. They're banging form, Villa. 5 wins on the bounce, up to 6th place. Abraham maybe going to get back into the goals now before the end of the season. Means and Hauser looking good. Grealish and McGinn just bossing it at this level, aren't they? Lots of draw stuff here, and I'm not surprised people are saying that. Steve Bruce is a nuisance and would happily stop Villa and take a point. I'm sure he'd happily stop anyone and take a point. Paul, as a great man once said, every point is a prisoner. So, yeah, they still haven't lost under Steve Bruce. 4 points off Villa in 6th. So they could take 3 points out of them. Thanks, Paul. They could take 3 points out of them right there and then. I think Villa are going to win. Someone said in the feed here, 4,500 Villa fans in that end at Hillsborough. What a great stadium that is to go to as well. I was there recently for it's pouring down with rain and it was 0-0, but it was still a nice atmosphere for the Sheffield derby. John says 2-1. Bruce would love to get one over you. And Bruce will know a lot of the strengths and weaknesses of a lot of the Villa players, being he signed most of them. Mings is by far the best defender in the Championship. Interesting. That was a big fat brown pig. Again, I'm sure Pontus Jansson might argue. Ender Stevens, Max Aarons might argue with that. Right. Swansea versus Borough. Oh dear, Middlesbrough. All going terribly wrong. A draw and 5 defeats in the last 6 for Borough. And they have fallen off a cliff. I said for ages on here, Borough, West Brom in the playoffs, guaranteed. But they've just dropped and dropped and dropped under Pulis, not going well at all. And those 2 important games for Borough, losing both games they played last week, at home to leaders Norwich and at home to Bristol City, not scoring a goal in either of them. Not looking good for Borough, and it looks like there are other teams that are a little bit more, inspired at the moment. 3-0 Swansea, says John. Another draw, Borough get lucky. Peaky says, can't believe he's not been sacked. Paul says, Borough will nick this. Could be the old Pulis. He's a house. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Swansea are my beach dwellers with sand in their toes. But they played fellow beach dwellers Brentford and hammered them in the week. 3-0 there. It's going to be low scoring. I think it'll either be 0-0 or 1-0 to Swansea, to be honest. Just Borough are in horrible form at the moment. And a lot of people think if they start to... Well, look, he's not going to fire Pulis now, because who are you going to bring in with a few games to go that's going to make any odds to it whatsoever, given the style of play that they use? You're not going to change that without a pre-season. But Borough are going to be, they're going to be in financial trouble if they don't get up, because FFP will be coming for them and that wage bill if they don't have parachute money on there. Rotherham versus Forest. So Rotherham in 22nd, Forest in 9th. Forest keep just staying on the edge of the playoffs, putting themselves in within distance of it and then losing whenever. It looks like they're going to go back in 2-1 Rotherham, says John. From the neutral point of view, we all kind of want Rotherham to start putting a challenge in. As I said in the international break, there is no relegation battle if Rotherham keep losing. Rotherham are good at home and Forest are not good away. Both sides play, it wouldn't be fair to say Forest play exactly like Rotherham, but both sides play, how can I say politely, an intense and direct style. Obviously, Forest far superior in terms of playing squad. So it should be an interesting matchup. George says 2-1 Rotherham. I don't know how to call this one. The neutral in me, Brexit will. Rotherham 0-1, says Sanjo. Difficult one. The contrarian in me wants Rotherham to win just to get this relegation battle going, but Forest should be beating Rotherham. Let's go for a very unhelpful draw. Rotherham have got tons of draws, haven't they? 15 draws, second in the draw stakes, only to Stoke. Is the plant behind me dead? I hope not. I think it's had some water. It looks all right, fairly green. I know I can see a few little ends there, but the plant's okay. We care about our stuff here at Bloom Towers. Hull versus Reading. Hull, the beach dwellers. Well, they went and beat Ipswich last week when Ipswich could have done with some confidence points, but there you go. 4-point gap now for Hull over 13th place Brentford. So it looks like Hull are going to finish in the top half. A miraculous run, and they could be up challenging with the playoffs, but can't see that one happening. Reading, they won again last week. Third win in 5, and really the actions of a team that doesn't want to get relegated. Scribe says 2-0 Reading. 4-point gap over Rotherham, big goal difference advantage. And Reading, you would say, are the one team in the bottom 6 actually in some kind of form down there. 2 defeats in the last 11 for the Royals and 17 points. George says Reading will survive. I don't think Reading will win at Hull. Matt asked about Oliveira. I'm not sure if he's back at all. We will find out. I think he was back training, wasn't he? And there was some talk of their magical medicine guy fixing him up, but we'll see if Oliveira's back. That increases their chances. I can't see Reading win. Let's go for a draw in that one. Reading to keep putting the points on, but maybe the home game. Blackburn was on the bench at the weekend. Thanks, Peaky. Jake says he's on the verge. Yeah, okay. Blackburn versus Stoke, complete dead rubber this one, and Stoke are just boring the hell out of everybody, aren't they? How many 0-0 draws is it in a row for Stoke? I think 4 0-0 draws. They're not conceding any goals at all. As Matt says, Blackburn are on the beach. Stoke aren't quite on the beach because they're still kind of keeping things tight. Scribe says Stoke can't score. I just throwaway said 0-0 last week for Stoke, so should we just go with another 0-0? I'm sure Blackburn will be perfectly happy with that given their recent slide down the table. And we will move on to the complete horror show. That is Bolton versus Ipswich, which is just a bit of a whole mess, isn't it? So we thought that the game was going to be called off. This was back on Wednesday. Then the courts gave them more time for their financial stuff. Then the safety certificate got revoked. Then there was an emergency meeting and the safety certificate got sorted and they paid their match day staff. And now, I mean, I haven't been on Twitter in the last 25 minutes since we've been doing the stream. And there's a problem with Bolton's IT system, and it just sounds ludicrous. So I just don't know what's going to happen there. The game may not happen. Bolton seem to be in a mess. Paul says if on, he thinks Bolton may edge it because we are hopeless. Well, yeah, we are hopeless. We know that. It is really, to all intents and purposes, a relegation dead rubber. Although a Bolton win and a Millwall defeat would see them only 3 points from safety. Millwall still with that game in hand. Matt, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I kind of feel like saying, look, screw you, Bolton. If you can't sort your business out, I'm just going to go to Birmingham and watch Leeds. But I'll check and see what the latest is. But I know people from Ipswich travelled on the train today, and yeah, Andrew says sad state of affairs. It really, really is. And I think we're going to see more of this nonsense as well. Well, these owners just throw money at the Championship to try and get into the Premier League, and then say, okay, we're not going to do it, and I want to sell, and I'm taking the money out, and I'm not going to pay any of the staff or the players. I know football players are well paid, but they still have bills and expenses like the rest of us. And if you sign a contract promising to pay somebody, then goodness me. But Paul says good news. Alan Judge signing a 2-year contract with an option for the 3rd year. He could be putting some serious numbers on, hopefully, in League One next year for Ipswich. George says Bolton, proper club, founding members of the league. Yeah, I agree, and it just a bit of a mess at the moment. Billy says Judge, good player in Division 1. I only put the shout out for questions not a very long while ago, so we'll do questions now if you do have any. That was weird. I just went to check in my YouTube thing and I could see me in the stream happening now. Will Ipswich be relegated in midweek? I don't know when this is actually going to happen. I think it will be Easter weekend, won't it? I had the Preston game. It just depends if Millwall can pick up any points in the meantime. Predicted top 6 we had. Well, look, Norwich are going to win it, aren't they? It's 2nd, 3rd and 4th. I just got a feeling West Brom might sneak up into that race at some point. Too hard to call. I'd go with Leeds at the moment, but those 3 will occupy the next 3 places. And then, I think Villa will definitely be one of 5th and 6th. I just don't know what to say about Bristol City and Derby. So unpredictable, those 2 teams. Looks like Borough on their way out of it. Forest seem to get close, but never quite get in. That would be my thoughts. Any questions in on the feed now? We will do them. Will Villa make the playoffs, says H. Huss. Yeah, I think they will. I think they have too much quality. Although they do still have Leeds and Norwich to play. So if those games go to the league table and not to form, then they're going to drop some points. Any other big promotion games for the rest of the season? Yes. I will be at Bowen or Pablo. Pablo for sure, Matt. Although Bowen's great, but Pablo's, you know how I feel about Pablo. Where am I going to be? I'll tweet me and I'll tell you those. But I'm going to be at Leeds and Sheffield United. I'm going to see all of Leeds, Sheffield United and Norwich before the end of the season. Brentford v Derby. Did I miss it out, Craig? I'm really, really sorry if I did. I did. Sorry, let's just go back really, really quickly, guys. Brentford versus Derby. Craig, thank you for reminding me. Derby back into the top 6. Mason Mount back. 6-1 win over Rotherham to blow out the cobwebs. So, interested to see how Derby go now, whether they'll pick up a game. Mount, I don't know whether we can use the Grealish analogy here, whether he's that important to Derby as Grealish is to Villa, but certainly made a difference there. Waghorn with the hat-trick. Lots of draws here. Brentford on the beach. Brentford away is a difficult game in that stadium. They always seem to keep the ball for most of the game, don't they? So good sign for the Rams. Lots of interest in FFP here. Mel Morris essentially selling the stadium to himself and leasing it back, and that circumvents Derby's high spend. A bit of an interesting one. I'm sure that will be looked into. Brentford, as we said, on the beach, although Ben Rama, we all love him, don't we? Scoring draw here. Sanjo says, I remember, Ben, you said lower teams accumulate more than mid-table teams. They do in the last 8 games. Historically, doesn't seem to be happening these seasons. Sorry, let's go back to the questions. If a few more come in, I'll take them. And thank you, Craig, for letting me know I'd missed out Derby there. I'll give a little plug for the video I just did earlier today. came out. Top 10 most shocking moments in the Championship this season. See what I came up with for that. Obviously, subscribe to the channel. You probably already have if you're 29 minutes into a live feed with me. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. Do Villa have a good chance if they make the playoffs, John? That depends whether they finish in 6th or in 5th. Although, yeah, they're either going to be playing Sheffield United or Leeds at the moment, or West Brom at the moment. So, although you think over 2 games, Villa have got a good chance to beat anybody, it just might come a little bit too soon for Villa, given that the other teams, particularly Sheffield United and Leeds, who may end up in there, have been building for a little bit longer than Dean Smith has, although they're more organised than West Brom. Imagine that, Villa-West Brom in the playoff semi-finals could happen, couldn't it? I think, what did we have in those games? West Brom won at Villa, didn't they? And it was that funny Rodriguez handball in the other one, so not much between the 2 teams there. If Leeds fall into playoffs, do you think they will win it? Well, they'll certainly win the home leg, I think. And contrary to popular belief, 3rd place normally does win the playoffs 7 times in the last 13 seasons. Leeds Villa, that's been moved to Sunday, so I should be able to get to that now if I can get a ticket. Hernandez, well, it's obviously Pablo over Arnel, but Arnel's got a lot of years. He may make the Danny Graham and Bradley Dack best duo in the Championship. It's McGinn and Grealish, isn't it? We will see. Derby Fan TV says perfectly legal. Yes, at the moment it is perfectly legal and above board in terms of the FFP rules. That said, I do remember, who was it? The Arab Man City guys deciding to pay a huge sponsorship to sponsor Man City, name on the shirts type thing, and they then changed the rules after that. So do not be surprised if the FFP people rewrite their rule book there. Can you see Forest walking it next year a la Wolves, says Paul. Depends who comes in, but it's Martin O'Neill sounded confident, so it's a possibility, but they brought in Carvalho and they don't play him. Matt says Goaty looking good. Let's just get a close-up on all of the grey hairs in the beard today. Needs a bit of a trim around there, but thank you, Matt. I do appreciate the sentiment on the beard. You think Sheffield United can do it? I'd love to see Sheffield United do it. The odds are against them when you see what they're up against. I think Leeds have got a more experienced manager, despite however good Wilder is, and Wilder's great. It'd be great to see a team that never had the parachute money go through with League One players. Sometimes, and this is what, the kind of mad hope if you're a relegated team down to League One, that you reorganise, you get on League One contracts, you come up with momentum, and then you add sensibly. That seems to be a far better way of doing it than just stagnating in the middle of the Championship, losing money. Are my goldfish pretty clued up on the Championship these days? Cedric is wonderful. He's just out of shot at the moment, and he's pretty out of shot at the moment, and he loves it. How do I think Stoke will do next season? Well, can't do any worse than they've done this year with that squad. 15th at the moment, loads of draws. If Luton are anything to go by, then Stoke are going to do really, really well. But I think Mr. Jones is taking a while to get his feet under the table there. And if they're not within a playoff shot by Christmas, he is gone, isn't he? Because even with Bet365 money behind you, Stoke are going to need to trim those budgets before the FFP people are coming. Cedric, prediction for the top 2. He's balls in that one as well. What's for pudding tonight? I can tell you for pudding tonight, John. I've got those goo desserts, those GU ones. They were on offer in Tesco. The Small Sean, worst ground and best ground in the league, best atmosphere and worst atmosphere. The loudest I've heard was Millwall versus Fulham last year. Quietest, I wouldn't like to say. What's for tea? I've already had fajitas for tea. It's already done. And my trusty Pepsi Max, which is why I have to take big deep breaths in the middle of these feeds. Right, thank you everybody for tuning in. I may be off to Ipswich Bolton tomorrow, but more likely I'll be off to Blues versus Leeds because I'm just very annoyed at Bolton. Goo. Yeah, goo is the middle class food, isn't it? Am I due a haircut? I had a haircut actually, so absolutely not. There will be no haircut until it really starts to go grey. Sunday we'll do the review, and then we're into stupendous 3-game week. Games on Tuesday, games on Wednesday. I will be at Brentford, Ipswich on Wednesday. Then next weekend, I'm not around on the Saturday, but I should be at Wigan, Norwich on the Sunday. So loads of good stuff. Thank you everybody for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. And I'll see you all very soon.